Hello, and welcome to 20 Lore Pro, the competitive resource for Lorcana players who enjoy deck building, competing, and talking all things Lorcana. You can find out more at our Discord community, 20lore.pro/discord, link in the description.
Hello and welcome to the very first episode of the 20 Lore Report. My name is Hal Brady with 20 Lore Pro, and today we are 1 week out from the Atlanta Challenge, the very first large competitive event of this scale to be had. It's the first one of them all. Huge prize pool. I think it's going to be an insane event, an insane weekend. So we're just going to talk about kind of where the metagame's at today, what decks I expect you will run into. So a little advice maybe if this is your first large event. And yeah, let's get into it. All right, so before we get into what decks I expect to see and what decks I would recommend taking to this event, let's take a look at the more important part. The prizes. So just for showing up, now you do have to play your first 3 rounds. You get the Dragonfire Extended Art promo, and then the top 128 get the Let It Go, which I think is going to be worth a decent amount of money on its own. Now the Dragonfire will probably be a couple $100, but the Let It Go I think is that's kind of your first goalpost if you can get to that. And then top 64 get the Cinderella, top 32 get the Rapunzel, top 16 get the Rapunzel foil playmat, which looks insane. And then you qualify for the first ever North American Championship. Top 8 get the Mickey Mouse Brave Little Tailor serialized gold promo. Top 4 get the 2 booster displays of Ursula's Return, 25 prize tickets, as well as top 2, and the winner gets the trophy in a full foil set of Into the Inklings, including the enchanted cards, combined with the playmat and all the other promos. That is a crazy prize pool, and I'm really excited to see this is how they're doing prizing for large events at Ravensburger, because this is basically going to cost them nothing. They're just printing money. But the prize pool is still very large if it compares to anything of what we saw from these Stitch Rockstars, from the first set championships. I can only imagine what these serialized Mickeys are going to go for. So really exciting setup. And I think you're even going to get probably at least your entry fee back just for playing the first 3 rounds in that Dragonfire promo, but we'll have to wait and see how that goes. So that's the gist of the prizes. Now the structure of the tournament, day 1 is going to be the new 2-game format. You get points based on the number of game wins you just get throughout the day, but you're not going to play best of 3. So it's going to actually make for quite a bit of a shorter day 1, as far as you're going to play way less games you would have in a traditional tournament before. And then if you do make the top cut to day 2, it goes immediately into best of 3, but also single elimination. And you're playing for a pretty big prize jump as the rounds go on. If it starts with, I don't know if it's going to start with the top 128 Omega, if it's, I think just top 64 are going to make day 2. And then just every win you get is such a huge jump in the prize pool. Every round you win, now you're in 32, now you're in 16, now you're in top 8, and you get something for every round you win. It is going to be, I think, a little nerve-wracking. I mean, once you make day 2 and you get the Let It Go, and maybe you get the Cinderella, you've paid for pretty much your whole trip and maybe the next one. And then every round is going to be pretty wild. You're playing for a decent amount of prizes each time. So that's pretty exciting. So I'm happy with pretty much everything, how they're setting it up for the first one. It's just going to be a really exciting weekend to see how it shakes out and who gets to hoist the first ever trophy of these Lorcana challenges. So now let's take a look at some of the deck lists, and I'll kind of show you how I do my research for competitive events. All right, so the first and foremost, most important resource, hands down, that you can use in competitive Lorcana right now is the 20lore.pro Discord. If you're not in here, you got to get in here. This is where all the magic happens, or all the Lorcana happens, or whatever. So once you know especially what archetype you're interested in, come in here, find the thread for that archetype. I mean, just look at this. If you're interested in playing Ruby Amethyst, there's a thread with 16,000 comments. You can go all the way back to the very beginning of set 3 and see where people started and just how they've had success throughout the whole format, the whole season, whole 3 months worth of tournaments, how they're on the current list that they're on today, mulligan decisions, matchup information. It's all there. It's all free. It's all really important golden information. You can take thousands of hours worth of playtesting that other people have done and just research and read everything they've done. And there's a thread for every deck list in the format in here. So once you know what you want to play, or even if you've already been on a deck for a while, come in here and get some just free tips and tricks and whatever you need. This is invaluable information. It's crazy. So I use this all the time. And this is where, especially from the beginning of the set. So they've got a section over here on the left for set 3 deck list, which is going to be the format for Atlanta. Start there, and then once you're ready to move on to set 4, which is what I've been doing for the last week or so, there's already set 4 decks in here where people are getting started on that format. But for Atlanta, you're worried about set 3, here you go. It's all here, thousands and thousands of message on each thread. So now, first you need to figure out what deck you want to play. So there's some tournament results in here that you can go through and find, and especially like in the individual deck list. But then what I also do, I use Twitter as one of my big resources, honestly. And what I would do is I went and found the last large tournament that I could find, and this had like 200 and something people. And so these are the decks from that event that top 8'd. And if you look at this is the last large event. This was on May 5th. The top 8, there are 8 different decks that made top 8 of this large event. That just goes to show you how good the set 3 metagame is. It is so good. You can play all kinds of different archetypes. So the winner was a Steel Emerald discard deck, and then we've got what probably would be my personal choice if I was going to go to this tournament, and Artabax has been a master at the Amethyst Emerald bounce deck. I won a couple stitches with this at the set championships. I love this deck. I especially think I would be interested in playing it in a 2-game format. Now I want to talk a little bit about the 2-game format. I wouldn't let that make you influence your deck decision too much, especially if you've been playing the same type of deck all season and you feel like you're a master at that, you're an expert at that. Don't jump ship, don't change, don't get nervous, cold feet. Play what you know, go with that, be consistent. Now, if you're on the fence with a few different decks, the only 2 decks I personally think could be affected by the best of 2 format, because they are just so much better on the play than they are on the draw, in my opinion, is going to be the Ruby Amber Mufasa deck. Is so much more powerful on the play, again, in my own opinion. And also most versions of Steel Song, it's a little bit less, I think, for the Lantern versions that go a little bit bigger and more controlling. They're not as bad, I think, as Flute and the Pride Lands versions on the play. Now, that's just in my opinion. I wouldn't switch to one of those decks cold for a 2-game format, but if you've been playing Mufasa or Steel Song for months and ins and outs, and you know what your game plan is on the play and the draw, go for it. No, I'm not saying those are bad choices. I just wouldn't, with a week out, switch to one of those decks and jump into the 2-game format. But every other deck I think is pretty much fine. They don't really care. It's, just try to win both games. So, it's fine, especially get your game on the play. But yeah, don't let that influence your deck choice too much. But yeah, just again, this goes to show you how healthy this format is. But yeah, I mean, my personal choice, I would be still on the Emerald Amethyst deck. All right, so nothing too crazy or new innovations in the deck. The strategy is still exactly the same as it was. Artabax has added recently the 1-drop Pascal, the 4-drop Tinkerbells. I've been a really big fan of the evasive package. Added it, helps in a lot of the more popular matchups, and especially against the Ruby Sapphire item stack and that sort of thing. So yeah, I'm still a really big fan of this deck. Next, we'll take a look at the Emerald Steel discard deck. All right, and here is the most recent Emerald Steel discard deck, and this is the list that actually got first place in this tournament. A little different than what we've kind of seen traditionally in the past of this format. 4 Daisy Duck Secret Agent and the full 4 Friar Tuck Priest of Nottingham. But outside of that, everything's pretty much the same. 3 binges really heavy. You expect to see a lot of the Ruby Sapphire item decks. It's going to be good against the Steel Song decks that are playing Flute or the Lantern. But yeah, I mean, the plan is still pretty straightforward. You're trying to control the board in the early game, discard all your opponent's cards to win the late game. Yeah, it's really, really solid, really powerful deck. I expect this to be one of the more popular decks. This deck won a lot of the stitches, especially locally in my area. I think this is going to be one of the more popular decks that you will see there. I would also expect to see a lot of the Ruby Amethyst decks. Just it's people's comfort zone. I don't think it's the best deck, but it's been a really powerful deck since set 1 and set 2. People have been playing it for a long time. They have the cards for that deck. That's just going to be their comfort zone. I also think it's a pretty good deck for the 2-game format as well, just because it's a very consistent deck. The game plan's always the same. Yeah, so I would expect those 2 decks to be really the most popular. I wouldn't expect to see a lot of blue steel. I would expect to see a decent amount of Ruby Sapphire because that is the most powerful deck in the format. Whether you think it's the best or not, I think it's hands down doing the most powerful things in the game right now. And then you'll definitely see an amount of Steel Song. I think most people that pick up and play Steel Song at this event is going to be the experts, the people that have tried and true, have been playing it for months now, and the people that are good with it dominate with it. And then I don't think you'll see a lot of people jumping into that deck. So if you come across somebody playing a Steel Song in the event, I would be very wary. They probably have been playing that deck for a long time and know what they're doing. So be ready for that. Yeah, if I had to choose personally, I would be on the Ruby Amethyst deck. And then as a backup choice, I do like the Emerald Steel discard decks as well, because both of those decks can just kind of beat anything. They're kind of like on the fence. They can lose to anything, but they can beat anything if you play sharp enough, play smart. Yeah, that's where I would be at for this event. All right, well, that's going to be it for the 20 Lore Report for today. Good luck to all the competitors that are heading to Atlanta May 25th through the 26th for the challenge. If this is your first big event, don't be nervous. Just go have fun. We're all playing Lorcana. We're all playing Disney cards. I love this game. Bring snacks. Don't forget to drink water. Stay hydrated. Day 1's going to be a long day. Just take it one game at a time. Don't put too much into each individual match. Just one game at a time, one match at a time. Do your best, play what you know, and most importantly, have fun. We'll see you next time.